solopreneur, a small business owner, a startup, or someone who commonly has problems and are fighting their photos for their websites and end up with results like this, then stay tuned because I have your back. I'm going to show you 3 ways to fix it. 1 for yourself, 1 to direct your website developers, and 1 to outsource the problem if you haven't got the tools and resources. So it's all happening in this episode. Okay, so jumping right on into today's problem. So I basically had the pleasure of interviewing a lovely couple of ladies over the last few days with regards to their book publications. And when I said to one of them, can you just give me the URL for your website so I can go check it out and learn a little bit more about you, I landed on her website, and she's a lovely, lovely lady. If you can imagine, she's put so much time and effort and energy for the last 12, 18 months to produce her book, which is going on sale in the next 2 weeks. And this is how her website developers have allowed her site to go live. And as much as I can appreciate from a website developer's point of view, or myself as having spent 25 years in the industry working with clients who provide photos that don't suit the need, I understand how this problem and everybody's perspectives as to why this is. But I also know that this shouldn't have been allowed by them. She should also be complaining because she's paying for a quality service which she's not getting. And this is how both you out there can resolve problems like this happening for yourselves, or prevent them even before they get going. So in today's video, like I said earlier on, there are going to be 3 solutions. 1, that you are the master of your own business and control, and you need to learn the power of thirds, which is what I'm about to teach you. The second is that there is a very quick and nasty fix for this, which I'm also going to demonstrate just so that you understand the concept, even if you don't have the technical skills or the ability or the confidence to do yourself. If you understand it, it means that you can communicate it to somebody else and outsource that task to a graphic designer who can do it for you, or show them this video. And the third one is what the website developers should have actually done given this situation. So let's crack on and let's actually investigate the problem a little bit more detail. So let me just show you what the actual true problem is. Now, I've tested this on Chrome, Edge and Firefox, and it's exactly the same scenario. So the first things first, what Anne's website is WordPress, and it is responsive, which is absolutely great. It's not the theme's fault. Okay, it's the quality of the photo being taken or being supplied in the wrong dimensions and not suiting or being fit for purpose for being used as a hero bar on her website. Now, I'm just resizing the browser, as you can see in the background, and I'm just going to move it into the middle of the screen to help you out. So let's just sort of make it the size of a mobile phone. There we go. So it's a little bit bigger, but you get the idea. Now, if you look down here now, you can see that the photo has beautifully resized due to the theme and how it's all working. So it's not the theme that's the problem. You can see that the text has rejiggled itself a little bit to reposition itself. Everything in that sense is working absolutely fine. Okay, but the problem is that the photo has now got to work essentially in 2 different environments, 2 different orientation sizes. It's basically got to work in a skinny and tall, but yet also wide and thin, or short, shall we say, trying to use words that obviously make it a little bit more understandable in sort of industry jargon for you. So stick with me, and if you've got any comments, obviously put them below. But essentially you've got one item that has to work in 2 different situations, and that's it's like getting a square peg and trying to fit it into a round hole. It's pretty difficult to do, but there are solutions. Now, essentially, let's take solution number 1, and this is, oh sorry, I just want to point out as well, this isn't the only page of her site that she's having this problem with. So although this one and the one on the recommended products are probably the worst, she's got a similar situation going on throughout her site in these hero bars. And there is a really easy solution at the time that you're taking the photo, which I'm going to demonstrate now by opening up Photoshop. Now, as you can see in the background, let me just take them off just for 1 second just to help you understand. Okay, so I've taken off all my markers just to give you an indication while we explain this. Now, this is the original photo. I've actually asked Anne to send it to me so that I'm not even using the optimized version that WordPress has on its website for her at the moment. So this is the photo. As you can see, it's not even got her name on here, so that's been superimposed in afterwards. Now, if I bring back in my guidelines, just to give you a quick indication, and it might be a little bit difficult for you to see, and I appreciate that, but essentially if you can follow my cursor, as we go across the screen there, I'm cutting off essentially a line through her nose just below her eyes, and the same again at the bottom half or third of the screen, which is just going underneath her armpits above her chest there. And basically, if we cross compare that to how it showed on her website, what you are now seeing is that we know what size canvas the photo is. Okay, so let's just move that back up. So as you can see, it's just below her eyes, across her nose, and across her just below her armpits there. So as you can see here, we know that working with this particular size canvas or photo and its footprint, this is how much of that photo is physically going to be shown on her website, on that homepage, which is why I've put those two guides in there to give me an indication. So this is the quick and dirty fix, first of all. Okay, so the quick and dirty, the real quick and dirty, and this is probably something that you'd be best off sending off to a freelancer or graphic designer on someone like Upwork or Fiverr.com for probably less than sort of, I don't know, 10-15 quid. They could reposition this photo and colour blend it into a background and basically give you and force the photo to have additional white space. Now, as you can see, what I've just done is I've shrunk that photo so that it fits inside those two margin lines that we've just, those guidelines that we've just put on there. Literally colour the background in white. Bear with me just 1 second. Right, so when we call it white space, that's why I've coloured it white here right now so that you can understand. But essentially what the photo, if it was working with a canvas that size or a footprint that size, this is how the subject of herself needed to be positioned within the actual frame of the photo. And as you can see, it's vastly different to how she did it to start with. Now, the quick solution here and the real quick fix is that someone like me who has the ability and something like a tool like Photoshop can basically pick up and blend now these colour tones on the edge, and so the left hand side can be colour blended in so there's not this obvious square box around her, and the same above and below and on the right hand side of her. And that is the quick and nasty fix. So if you already have photos that you need to use in those kind of environments and you think the photo is beautiful and it's just what you want, obviously it does depend on the photo and how much noise and busyness is going on around her. Obviously in Anne's sense, this is quite nice because she's done it against a plain wall, probably for this specific purpose, but it does mean that you should be able to add in or even blend in somehow content and give it noise around the outside. So that's what you can do if you need a quick and dirty fix. So that was point number 2. Point number 1, let me just undo everything so I can explain back to those 9 grids that we saw. When Anne was taking this photo, whether she was doing it herself, maybe on a timer, or getting a friend and using an iPhone or a smartphone and taking the photo, or even if she went to a professional photographer's, if she'd have understood and known of the rule of thirds, that knowledge could have been communicated to the person taking the photo so that they themselves could have positioned her in that centre area. So realistically, what we needed to have done when Anne was taking this photo is actually position herself in this location here. So let me just duplicate her for 1 second so I don't touch the original, and I'm just going to now, just to explain that, so imagine Anne is sitting down against the white wall. Okay, she should have put herself more or less in that position there, and the person taking the photo should have been far enough back so that pretty much 1/3 of the space above, 1/3 of the space to below her, and again on the right and the left hand side, and that would have given the photograph itself as an end product enough white space around it. So even if the web developers had to tweak it just a teeny bit in order to make that hero bar look correct, there would have been room and sort of food for thought for them to play with. Think of it in the sense of this: if you're baking a cake and you add ingredients into a cake, that's fine, but you can't then suck out the egg and the flour and separate it once you've mixed it all together. So once you've taken a photograph, if you take it originally at its biggest, widest, with the most amount of blurb and noise going on around it, you can always trim it down, and that's absolutely fine. But like, for example, in Anne's case now, but if you start off with it framed perfectly, you've got no movement and nothing to work with, and you can't spread it wider or taller, thinner, fatter, shorter, whatever, for whichever media and environment that you want to use. Now, if Anne had known that, she would have been able to get that photo taken slightly different to begin with. Okay, so that is essentially where we're at. Now, I said there was 3 solutions, and solution number 3 is a technical one. This is one where you would need to invoke your website developers into basically working with 2 different photos. You would essentially, as I said at the beginning, you've got the narrow and tall version for when you're looking at it on mobile phone devices in a portrait view, and then you've got the hero bar, like a panoramic one that is very short and very, very wide, that works across the websites. Okay, so in those 2 scenarios, and then obviously you maybe even got a third, to be honest with you, if she wanted to use that as a regular photo somewhere like on her about page, then she'd need the regular orientation of the photo. So in order to get 3 different sizes for 3 different uses out of one photo, the rule of 9s would solve that problem. Or the only problem that would generate then is when you do go to view her website. Let me go back to it. When you do go to view it in this portrait, what you would actually find is Anne would be very, very tiny, because obviously there's all of this extra white space around the photo, and Anne would be really tiny, and there'd be all this white gap at the top and white gap at the bottom, which is why then, as a website developer, they should have really been working with 2 photos in this instant, not 1 photo. They should have customised that photo so there was a nice long wide version and a tall version, and in the CSS code literally put a little bit of script that basically says if the screen is, or if the website is being viewed at this size, use photo A, and if it's used at this size, use photo B. And that is easily to have picked up on and switched in and out depending on the monitor size and the dimensions, and it's an easy test to see if it's wider and shorter than it is taller than thinner, and the alternative photos could have been used at that time. So if you could imagine, if Anne had taken this photo with the rule of 9, taken that 1 photo and supplied that 1 photo to her web developers, they could have trimmed it for a narrow, and they could have trimmed it for a wide, and then they'd have been working with 2 different, oh, I'm swearing at you, sorry. They would have been then working with 2 different photos that they would have then able to optimize and perfect for obviously downloading and communicating across the internet anyway, and that's how this solution would have been resolved, and she wouldn't have been looking a little bit like a fool, in the sense of obviously she's put all this time and effort and energy into people coming to buy her book, and obviously they're going to be seeing this, which is kind of embarrassing for her. So that is basically how you guys would resolve this situation for yourself. So if you can prevent it to begin with by using the rule of 9s, then you're in a much stronger position. If you can't and you've already got the photo, then do the quick hack, send it out to somebody like a graphic designer, a Photoshop wizard online, if you can't do it yourself or you don't know anyone that you can do, and get them to add in the white space if it's possible, especially on photos like this when it's a nice clear background. That's a really easy thing to do. And then of course hack number 3 in that sense would be that realistically her web developer should have been working with 2 versions of that photo, taking the original, making it skinny, making a narrow, a wide one, and swapping them in and out depending on the orientation of their website and how it was being viewed. So that's my summary for you guys today. I hope that really does help you and provide you some food for thought on your solopreneurial journeys, and I really do want you to stay tuned and notified to my site. And the reason being is WordPress fixes like this or common problems are all going to be covered very soon, starting in April 2020 on my website, where I am literally launching WordPress Wednesdays, and I am going to be teaching you absolutely everything that you need to know to empower yourselves to get yourself out of problems like this and to maintain, manage and work with your website. Even if you don't want to get your hands dirty, you're still going to be a manager of your business in that sense, and you still need to know and understand, so that when you're outsourcing to other people, if you're going to get them to do the work, you need to be able to talk the talk, know what jargon they're on about, and be able to hold your own in a conversation, so you end up with really good quality end product and website. So stay tuned. WordPress Wednesdays is coming come April 2020, and it will go throughout the year. I'm going to teach you your WordPress website to do it yourself. I'm going to teach you how to do membership portals. I'm going to teach you how to manage and build in your own e-commerce website stores as well. I've got loads of content coming, and I would love to see you. So stay tuned, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.